Hi, this is Vicky with Learning Home Volunteers. Welcome back to our learning session on apples. I hope you enjoyed the activities last week. This week we have so many fun things planned. My favorite of this week's activities is making applesauce. Well, let's get started. We haven't done any lacing or sewing for a while, and we had a couple of requests from some families, so we've included this apple lacing activity in your box. In your box, you're going to find a paper plate numbered with number 5. We've attached a string to one of the holes and left the other piece kind of loose. We got some questions about lacing last time. The picture on the left showing, what looks like dashes along the edge of the paper thing shows a child who's actually putting the needle through the back of the plate, pulling this thread up, and then putting it down the front of the plate for the next stitch. The picture on the right shows a child in the last few stitches who always is threading from the top. And then the thread folds over the edge and from the bottom and kind of looks like this loopy thing. Well, first of all, there's no right or wrong way to actually do this lacing. Whatever your child chooses is correct, and they get just as much benefit from either or. But at some point, once they've mastered their version of the stitch, you can show them different ones by demonstrating them yourself. Well, this is activity number 6, and we thought it would be fun to actually begin talking about patterns with children. This is part of their executive function, and predicting is one of the things that we've been working on in another way when we predicted the taste of the apples. This is a different kind of predicting. So let's just take a look at the first row of our pattern here. It starts off with a green apple followed by a yellow apple. So when you're having a conversation about predicting the next apple, you could say, if I have a green and a yellow and the pattern is going to continue, what would you guess this next apple to be? Do you think it'll be green or do you think it will be yellow? And so forth and so on. The next line is another A-B type of pattern, but this time in red and green. And the last line is actually different in that it uses 3 colors to establish its pattern. So it'll be yellow, red, green, followed by yellow, red, green. Tricky stuff. Predicting is one of the big skills that our children are working on. And like I said, in our taste test, they were predicting what it would taste like if it'd be from a different apple type or a different apple color. And in this case, what they're doing is predicting the next apple that should be in the series by color. Well, this is activity number 7. We're going to make applesauce. If you haven't eaten the rest of your apples, it is really fun to make applesauce and is super easy. Those apples that you may not have wanted to use to eat right off the apple itself will be perfect for this. You want to start by peeling and coring a few apples. Add a little lemon juice or apple cider vinegar onto the apples to keep them from turning brown. Sprinkle the apples with some cinnamon and then put the apples in the pot with a splash of water and then turn the burner onto medium-low heat. It'll take maybe 25 minutes to actually cook the apples. And one of the things that's really important is that you don't let the pot get dry. If you want to check it every 5 or 10 minutes to look to make sure that there's still water in the pot. And then to figure out whether the apples are actually completely cooked, you just want to test the apples by putting a fork through them. They should be super, super soft. Now comes the part about making applesauce. Once our apples are cooked, you want to let them cool for a few minutes. One is we want to taste to make sure that the apples aren't too sour. So if you find that they are a little bit sour, you can add a little bit of sugar and mix it in. The next part, of course, is the children's favorite part, and that's to mash the apples with a fork or a spoon until you guys get the consistency you like. The interesting thing about applesauce is as it cools down, it will thicken. So once it's all cold to the touch, if you think it's too watery, you can certainly put it back on the stove and simmer it down to reduce the water. Now you can store the applesauce in the fridge for up to 2 weeks, but mine never lasted that long. They children love cooking or eating things that they've cooked. Well, our last activity for this learning session is activity number 8. And in your box, you should find a bag with apples of various colors. You want to put these on the floor, and the player's job is to follow the instructions that the caller calls out. And the caller will say, put your hand on a green apple. Now, obviously, our learners don't know their right hand from their left hand or their right hand foot from their left foot. So you're going to have to point to the hand that you want on the green, or you put your foot on the red. Now, obviously, this game is a lot more fun if you have more than one player because they're all competing for the different apples that are right beside them. Well, this concludes all of our activities for this learning session. We hope your families enjoyed it. We certainly enjoyed eating a few apples that came through our office. I'll see you next session.